Scorpio, this Wednesday will be your biggest day. There's something sacred unfolding in your timeline, and it demands your attention not next week, not next month but tomorrow. November 5th isn't just another date. It's a divine appointment written into your soul long before you ever learned to name your desires. And in this video, you'll discover the 7 things you must absolutely avoid tomorrow, or risk stepping out of alignment with the miracle that's already on its way to you. You didn't land on this video by accident. You were guided. Something in your spirit responded to a call you may not even realize you've been hearing. The alignment between the moon and Pluto, the ruler of your sign, is stirring deep within you. It's awakening truths that have long been buried beneath survival, struggle, or silence. And now, all of heaven is leaning in. There are moments in life that feel small until you look back and realize they changed everything. This Wednesday is one of those moments. Your name has been whispered in the language of destiny, and the vibration around you is shifting. The air itself is charged. Your body might feel restless. Your thoughts might feel louder than usual. That's not stress. That's spiritual preparation. Many of you have been waiting, praying, and wondering when things will finally change. The answer isn't sometime in the future. It's now. But there's a reason your blessing hasn't fully appeared. Because heaven requires your participation. And there are subtle yet powerful things you must not do if you're going to meet this divine moment with readiness. Scorpio, this is your season of release. This is the doorway between who you've been and who you were always meant to become. That version of you, the one who walks in purpose, who chooses peace, who commands respect from the universe not through ego, but through alignment, is waiting on the other side of tomorrow's choices. So pause here and ask yourself, what if everything you've asked for is already prepared, but you're the one who has to prepare for it? What if all it takes is shifting your energy, your mindset, your behavior just enough to match what's been assigned to you? This is not a warning. It's a wake-up call. And it's wrapped in love. Because you are loved. You are chosen. And more importantly, you are ready. Ready to stop second-guessing your intuition. Ready to release the need for external validation. Ready to step forward without fear or apology. Take a deep breath. Ground yourself in the truth. You are not late. You have not missed it. This is right on time. And as we walk through the 7 spiritual mistakes to avoid on Wednesday, I want you to listen not just with your ears, but with your soul. You'll know what's meant for you. You'll feel it like a whisper that shakes you. Before we dive in, let me thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Every like, every comment, and every subscription doesn't just support this channel, it expands our collective vibration. It deepens the spiritual roots of this global family we're building together. And yes, your presence here is part of that purpose. If something within you is already stirring, don't ignore it. Confirm your alignment by commenting below, "I am ready for November 5th." Let this be your way of planting a seed of faith into the soil of your future. Stay with me. Because what the universe is about to reveal will transform everything. Scorpio, if something inside you has felt unsettled, Latilian invisible restlessness, a sense of urgency in your chest that you can't explain, there's a reason. What you're feeling isn't random. And it certainly isn't something to suppress or ignore. In fact, what you're sensing might be one of the clearest signs that your soul is responding to a divine timestamp embedded in your cosmic blueprint. November 5th isn't just a date. It's a mirror in time. A mirror that reflects not who you were, but who you're becoming. And this moment, as quiet and subtle as it may appear to the world, holds the potential to redirect everything beneath the surface of your life. You see, in astrology, timing isn't about chance, it's about alignment. And right now, the moon forms a harmonious trine with Pluto, the ruling planet of Scorpio. This energetic conversation between celestial bodies is not superficial. It's soul deep. Pluto governs the underworld, the unseen, the subconscious, the place where your fears and buried power live side by side. When the moon aligns with it, especially in a trine, it acts like a compassionate translator between your heart and your shadow. It's as if the heavens are offering you a flashlight to look into the corners of your inner world you've avoided, and instead of being punished for what you find, you're being invited to make peace with it. This is why many of you may have experienced waves of intense emotion in the days leading up to this moment. Vivid dreams that feel prophetic. Unexplained tightness in your chest. A flutter in your heartbeat without an obvious trigger. Perhaps even brief moments of emotional overwhelm that seem to crash in and then fade as quickly as they came. These aren't mood swings. These are signals. This is your intuition adjusting to the frequency of a spiritual appointment your mind may have forgotten, but your soul never did. We live in a world that rushes us to fix things externally, change our routines, upgrade our schedules, push harder, do more. But this alignment, this sacred Wednesday, calls for something quieter and far more powerful: surrender. It calls you not to strive, but to listen. To slow down enough that you can hear the whisper of wisdom moving through the static of your thoughts. And sometimes, stillness is the loudest answer we receive. This idea of sacred timing is echoed even in the spiritual texts many of us turn to for comfort. In Jeremiah 29 verse 11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you. Plans to give you hope and a future." It doesn't say you have to understand them. It says you are included in them. And on November 5th, Scorpio, you are not just included, you are centered. Your recent emotional intensity is not a flaw. It's a sign of sensitivity. A sensitivity that makes you attuned to energy shifts, cycles, and spiritual thresholds. This isn't about being dramatic or unstable. It's about being deeply wired to feel the sacred tremors that others overlook. And what you're feeling right now? That's the soul recognizing the portal before the mind can rationalize it. So if you felt like crying for no reason, if you've been craving solitude more than usual, or if you've caught yourself reflecting on moments of the past with unusual clarity, it's because you're being spiritually recalibrated for what's ahead. You're not broken. You're being aligned. You don't need to fix anything right now. You only need to feel it fully and let it move through. Trust that this heaviness is the soil softening before something new breaks through. And if you're wondering whether anyone else feels it too, I invite you to share your truth below. What are you sensing in this moment? What is rising in you that you can no longer ignore? You're not alone. You are seen. And this is your hour. Scorpio, if you've been sensing recurring patterns, dreams that repeat, numbers that follow you, visions that flash in the quiet moments between your thoughts, consider this. Maybe you're not imagining them. Maybe you're remembering something your soul already knows. In tarot, the High Priestess arrives not with noise or grand gestures, but with a quiet finger pressed to her lips, reminding you that truth does not always roar, it often whispers. And when she appears for you, especially in a season of powerful cosmic alignment like this one, it's a call to return to the sanctuary within. She doesn't demand you to act, she invites you to feel, to listen, to remember. Her presence signals that the answers you seek aren't out there in the noise of theory, already alive inside of you. This energy mirrors what we've already discussed, the subtle shifts in your inner world, the pressure building within that isn't stress but spiritual readiness. The High Priestess is that still point in your storm, that inner compass guiding you not through logic, but through trust. When you stop chasing clarity and allow yourself to sit in the mystery, that's when real insight arrives. And right now, the mystery is sacred. You're not meant to force your way through it. You're meant to honor it. Then comes Judgment, the second card calling your name in this moment. Unlike the High Priestess, who moves in silence, Judgment is a trumpet. It's a vibration that shakes loose the old layers you no longer need. This card isn't about guilt or shame. It's about awakening. It represents the moment your soul stands up and says, I remember why I'm here. And for many of you watching this right now, this is that moment. The decisions you've been postponing, the steps you've hesitated to take. Judgment tells you that you're no longer in rehearsal. The curtain is rising. You're being called not to be perfect, but to be present. What makes these two cards so profound together is how they bridge two inner truths, your sacred knowing and your sacred becoming. The High Priestess holds your ancient wisdom. Judgment unlocks your future potential. Together, they create a portal. And you're standing at the threshold of that portal right now. In energy work and the law of attraction, we often talk about readiness not in terms of external preparedness, but internal alignment. When your energy is in sync with what you desire, reality bends to meet you. That's what this moment offers. Not a reward for striving, but a reflection of who you've quietly become through all the inner work no one saw. Every moment you chose peace instead of reacting. Every prayer whispered. Every emotion felt instead of buried. All of it has been building to this point. And yet, it's not about striving harder now. The invitation here is to step forward with reverence, not resistance. Not because you have to chase something, but because something is already calling you forward. You've believed in silence for so long. Now, life is beginning to echo back your trust. If you've been feeling a rising pressure to speak your truth, to finally make that decision, or to walk away from something that no longer holds resonance, Judgment is your confirmation. You are being called not out of fear, but into freedom. And you get to choose whether to answer. So tell me, have you seen repeating signs lately? Have you had dreams you can't explain? Do certain words, places, or names keep showing up like breadcrumbs on your path? These are not coincidences. They're confirmations. And I'd love for you to share them in the comments below. This is your moment to acknowledge the conversation between your soul and the universe. Say it aloud. Put it in writing. Because sometimes the act of speaking the truth you've carried in silence is what finally sets it free. When a moment like November 5th Aravisa Day marked by cosmic precision and energetic depth, it doesn't just ask you to be present, it asks you to be intentional. Scorpio, you are entering a space in time where your sensitivity becomes your greatest compass. And yet, in such a highly charged window, even the most intuitive souls may unknowingly sabotage their own transformation, not through grand decisions, but through subtle patterns. That's why these 7 spiritual reminders are not warnings, but invitations to remain in alignment with what is already forming around you. First, do not doubt your intuition. The mind will always seek logic, but the soul speaks in a language that can't always be rationalized. On this day, more than ever, the whispers from within carry encoded truth. That nudge, that flicker of knowing without knowing why it's real. It's spiritual GPS. If you wait for proof, you'll miss the moment. Let your body, your breath, your energy lead where words cannot. Second, don't overlook the silence. Our world teaches us that progress must be loud, seen, and validated. But on November 5th, silence becomes sacred territory. This is when the veil between what you see and what you sense is at its thinnest. In the stillness, you'll hear what can't be spoken. Solitude won't isolate you, it will position you. If you're willing to disconnect from the noise, you'll finally reconnect with clarity. Third, resist feeding negative energy. That means becoming deeply conscious of how you respond to fear, comparison, regret, or judgment. These emotions are natural, but they are not permanent unless you give them fuel. Let your sadness breathe through you. Let your anger be written out instead of buried down. Let your fear walk to the edge of you, and then ask it to leave gently. The energy you carry shapes the doorway you're stepping through. Clear it with love. Fourth, do not seek validation from others. The truth is, the version of you that is rising may not be fully understood by those still tied to your past identity. And that's okay. Their understanding is not a requirement for your evolution. The universe has already affirmed you. Your worth has already been stamped in the fabric of divine timing. Seeking approval now is like asking for permission to walk through a door that has already opened. Fifth, stop questioning your worth. Everything you've survived, every scar, every tear, every night you chose to believe instead of break it, all adds up to this moment. You are not here by luck or mistake. You are here because you endured. And that means you're more than worthy or chosen. This path wasn't easy, but it's yours. Own it with grace. Sixth, don't hold back your truth. Words are frequencies. When spoken with clarity and courage, they rearrange reality. If something inside you is urging to be shared, whether it's a boundary, a truth, or a dream, let it rise. Self-expression is a spiritual act. You are not meant to carry sacred words in silence when the world needs to hear your voice. And finally, don't underestimate the small things. Signs rarely come with fireworks. Sometimes they arrive in the quiet glance of a stranger, the timing of a phone call, the unexpected email that stirs something in your chest. These are not accidents. These are divine nudges. Notice them. Honor them. Respond with presence. If it serves your healing, I invite you to write down the 7 patterns you feel called to release, those thoughts, habits, or fears that no longer serve the future you're stepping into. Then, in a quiet moment, burn the paper gently and say aloud, I am clearing space for what is sacred. Let it be your way of sealing this inner agreement, not with pressure, but with peace. As we continue, stay open to what moves through you. Let this day be a threshold. You're not just crossing into something new. You're becoming someone new. And that begins by choosing alignment over fear, presence over distraction, and truth over hesitation. This is your moment. Let it transform you. Scorpio, if you've followed this far, your soul is already responding to something deeper than words, something that calls beyond logic and into the realm of subtle knowing. We've spoken about silence, about intuition, and about sacred restraint. But there's another language unfolding beneath all of it, and it's the language of numbers and color, the invisible symbols that shape how your spirit aligns with your path. You don't have to understand numerology to feel the power of 777 vibrating through your chest when it appears. You don't need to study frequency to be moved by the sudden presence of a color that feels like home. That's the thing about energy, it speaks to your essence before your mind can explain it. In the world of numerology, 777 is not just a sequence. It's a completion code. When this number enters your awareness, especially around a cosmic moment like November 5th, it signals that a spiritual chapter is closing and a new timeline is preparing to unfold. It's the whisper that says, "Well done. Now prepare to rise." Completion isn't always about endings. Often, it's a returning, a reunion between who you were and who you've quietly become. When 777 shows up in your dreams, on receipts, clocks, or screens, don't brush it off. This is the universe tapping you gently on the shoulder, reminding you that nothing you've endured has been wasted. You are being aligned with something bigger, something built for the new you. The number 5, so intimately tied to the date itself, November 5, this a vibration of motion, change, and soul momentum. In astrology, 5 is the space between the familiar and the unknown. It's the hallway between two doors, one closing behind you, one not yet open. Many fear this space. But for Scorpio, a sign built for transformation, the number 5 is a sacred threshold. It invites movement, not chaos, expansion, not instability. It's your cue that it's okay to leave behind what no longer matches your frequency, even if it once felt like home. Change isn't proof that something failed. Sometimes it's confirmation that you've outgrown what was once aligned. And then we arrive at 11, the master number, the portal. It doesn't speak in sentences. It speaks in gateways. It's often felt as divine intuition, as if something or someone is gently guiding your steps through uncertainty with unshakable precision. When 11 repeats, it's not a coincidence. It's a calibration. It shows up to remind you that you are walking a bridge between dimensions, between the old story you've lived and the sacred story waiting to be written. And Scorpio, no one walks that bridge with more strength than you. You've already been through the dark. Now, you're being asked to walk in your light. Just like numbers, colors carry energy that can anchor you through days of transformation. On November 5th, 2 colors emerge as activators of your intuition and protectors of your alignment. The first is silver lavender, a blend that awakens your spiritual sensitivity and reconnects you to inner trust. It reminds you to listen inward when the world gets loud. Wear it, visualize it, surround yourself with it. This shade opens your third eye, not to fantasy, but to quiet knowing. The second is turquoise, a frequency of spiritual protection and energetic clarity. It helps you maintain your vibration amidst emotional noise and external expectations. It is the shield of the empath and the guide of the awakened heart. If you wear turquoise or hold space with it nearby, you may find yourself feeling more centered, less reactive, and gently held by an energy you can't explain but instinctively trust. These are not superficial suggestions. Numbers and colors are the divine architecture of your inner alignment. They speak when you are too tired to pray. They hold you when words can't. So I ask you now, as you move closer to this powerful day, what number has been following you? What color has been calling you? Comment below and let it be known. Say it aloud. I choose the energy of 777. I am ready for my gateway to open. Because you are. And the universe is listening. Scorpio, as we arrive at this final threshold before the door opens, everything that has been stirred in your heart, every signal from your intuition, every dream, every moment of quiet knowing has been gently guiding you back to one simple truth. You were never behind. You were being prepared. In a world obsessed with immediacy and constant validation, the silence of preparation can feel like a punishment. But it's not. It's sacred construction. And your soul has been in the hands of timing far wiser than anything the human mind could orchestrate. What looks like delay is often divine choreography in motion, carefully aligning the right pieces so that when your moment arrives, nothing is missing, not the support, not the courage, and certainly not the version of you that's needed to carry the blessing. There is a beauty in divine delay, because it refines your faith. And as you approach this powerful day, the invitation is not to force your way into transformation, but to let yourself become what you were meant to receive. That's where healing begins. Not by fixing everything, but by recognizing that you are not broken. You are unfolding. You are rerouting. And the healing you seek is already inside of you, waiting for permission to rise, not with pressure, but with presence. This is not a race. It's a return. From a spiritual perspective, healing isn't just about relief, it's about remembering. And remembering takes stillness. It takes surrender. That's why the most powerful rituals in times like these are not complicated. They're simple, subtle, and sacred. Hydration becomes a prayer for flow. A moment of deep breathing becomes a reset for your nervous system. Choosing whole, nourishing foods becomes a declaration of worth. Saying no to overstimulation, cigar, caffeine, distractions becomes an act of self-trust. And in that quiet, the body remembers safety. The soul remembers direction. And you remember who you are outside of fear. One of the most powerful tools you have right now is the practice of journaling. Not the kind that seeks productivity or performance, but the kind that simply allows truth to land on the page. Write what's real. Write what hurts. Write what you hope for. And then, write a single sentence that anchors you back to belief. When you do this in the morning, before the world floods your mind with noise, you are planting seeds not just of clarity, but of faith. You are telling life, I am here, I am listening, and I am ready. And perhaps that's what this entire journey has really been about: readiness. Not forced, not faked, but felt. A readiness that comes from walking through the valleys of doubt and still choosing to hope. A readiness that doesn't come from knowing every answer, but from trusting the next step. Because sometimes, the greatest spiritual act is not moving forward in strength, it's pausing in gentleness. It's saying, I may not know everything, but I'm still willing to believe. And that willingness creates the space where miracles can land. So as this day approaches, don't rush to fix or force anything. Take care of your body like it's the sacred vessel it is. Tend to your thoughts like a loving gardener. Speak to yourself with compassion. Sit with your truth in silence. And above all, remember this: nothing is wasted. Every quiet morning, every unseen tear, every time you chose kindness over choice, it all matters. It has been seen. And it is coming back to bless you in ways that go far beyond what you asked for. Because what's meant for you isn't just coming, it's already unfolding. One breath, one choice, one sacred moment at a time. Tomorrow is not here to change you. It's here to reveal you. All that you've built quietly in the dark nights, in the waiting, in the prayers no one heard will now be touched by light. And not because you forced it, chased it, or demanded it, but because you finally aligned with what was always yours. The universe doesn't reward noise, it responds to resonance. And Scorpio, you've reached a frequency that no longer needs explanation. The light in you will speak for itself. So if your heart is still wondering, am I ready? Remember this: readiness is not about perfection. It's about willingness. Willingness to believe that something sacred is unfolding, even if you don't have all the proof. Willingness to soften instead of strive. Willingness to open your hands and let go of what was, so you can receive what is. You're not here to chase miracles. You are one. Your presence, your breath, your belief, it all matters. And tomorrow, as this divine alignment unfolds, the best thing you can do is simply be who you've become. Let that be your ceremony. Let that be your offering. So I want to ask you gently, what will you release tonight to make room for tomorrow? What thought, fear, or habit is no longer welcome in your next chapter? And more importantly, are you willing to believe that you no longer need to prove your worth to step into your blessing? If something in you is whispering yes, I invite you to claim it now. Speak it into being. Comment below, I am the chosen one. I will not miss November 5th. Let those words be a sacred agreement between your soul and your destiny. And if this message stirred something in you, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Miracle of the Sign, and share this message with someone whose light is also ready to rise. Every act of support helps us spread this healing energy further, deeper, and into the hearts of those who may need it most. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your presence here is not a coincidence. It's confirmation. Now go forward with peace in your chest, clarity in your steps, and truth in your eyes, because the light is not coming. The light is already in you.